Good morning. It's week 2. I'm excited to be with you again today. Remember that at the end of this video, I'm going to have 2 questions. And if you answer those 2 questions and send me your answers, if you get your parents to do that, then you'll be entered to win the $5 gift card. So because I'm having to record these ahead of time, I'm not going to be able to post on here who gets the gift card. But if you won the gift card, I will surely let you know. So know that somebody won it last week and somebody's going to win it again this week. So it might as well be you, right? All right. So remember what we talked about last week. God's people were being punished. Remember for not obeying him and following him. And he had allowed Babylon to capture them. And remember we had Belshazzar was the ruler at the end, and Persia, the kingdom of Persia, was setting in on his kingdom and actually took him over. Remember, like you've been measured, divided, all that stuff from last week with the handwriting. Remember all that? Okay. So now Persia has taken over God's people. All right. So the new king now, a new kingdom, we have a new king, and his name is King Darius. Now, my favorite song to do with this is on VeggieTales, and it's called Oh No. So you just need to maybe pause this or look at it afterwards. Go to YouTube and type in VeggieTales Oh No. It's my favorite. I would sing the whole thing for you. Know that I know it word for word. You should go listen to it after this because I think it does a great job of telling the story in a really funny way. All right, so Darius is the new king, and he wants somebody that he can trust. And so he calls on Daniel. Now, Daniel's old now, okay? He's got lots of wrinkles. He might be bending over a little bit when he walks. I bet his knees pop when he bends down. He's getting a little older. But King Darius realizes that Daniel is going to be helpful to him. So he tells Daniel that you're going to help rule over the kingdom. And Daniel does such a fantastic job that King Darius decides that he's going to give Daniel a promotion in his job. And he said, you're going to run the whole kingdom by yourself, which is fantastic for Daniel, right? The problem is there are other princes who work with him, and they're like, well, how's Daniel getting all the recognition? Why is Daniel getting the promotion? Great, now Daniel's going to be the king next, and we don't even have a shot. So they're jealous, right? They're mad about it. So they're like, how can we get rid of Daniel? We got to get him out of the way so that we can have a chance to be king. So they're like, hey, let's find a way that we can get him killed or get rid of him. And the only way that we can do that, because Daniel's a pretty good guy, he always follows his God. The only way we can probably do that is if we can trap him, having to do something with the laws about his God. And so their brains started churning, and they were coming up with this evil plan. And so they decided, they said, let's go to the king. So they went to the king and they said, oh, great King Darius, you are so amazing that all of your nobles and your people should have to praise you and only bow down to you for the next, I believe he said, 30 days. We should not bow down to anybody but you, O king, for 30 days. And king, I think that if anybody doesn't follow this law, they should get thrown in the lion's den. What do you think about that? The king's like, well, I mean, okay, if you really think I deserve all that, if you want that into a law, I'll sign it. So he signs the law away. And in Persia, once the law was in writing, it could not be taken back or changed. So the king can't sign this and later be like, oh, never mind, tear that law up, we're not using that anymore. After he signed it, that's the way it was. So King Darius's new law was announced. You can only bow down to the king for the next 30 days. And that was a trap, remember, to get Daniel. Daniel realized this, and he decided that he was still going to pray to God. And it was their tradition then that they would be in their homes, and 3 times a day, they would face towards Jerusalem where the temple used to be, and they would pray to God. So Daniel, even though he knew that the decree was to not bow down to anybody except King Darius, went straight up to his room with the window open where people could see him, and he bowed down towards Jerusalem and prayed to God anyway. The tricky little guys who set up this law, those guys, they saw him, and they were like, got him. we're going to go tell Darius. So they ran up to Darius and they said, hey, didn't you sign a law that said that nobody could bow down to anybody but you? Didn't you say that? And he said, yeah, I did, and it can't be changed. He said, well, Daniel broke the law. Daniel broke the law, and he has to go to the lion's den. Oh, the king was so upset. He loved Daniel. Daniel was his friend, and he realized that he had been tricked by these other princes who were just jealous. So King Darius had not even thought about this with Daniel, that Daniel could be thrown into the lion's den. So he really wanted to save him. He went to Daniel and he said, Daniel, couldn't you just hold off on praying for another few days? You don't even have to pray to me. Maybe you can just pray where people don't see you. And Daniel said, you trust me because you know that I don't go back on the things that I know are right. And I won't do that to God either. I'm going to do the right thing. Daniel remains firm. And at the end of the day, King Darius can't change the law, even one that he put into place. So he ordered the guards. He didn't want to, but he had to. He ordered the guards to take Daniel and throw him into the lion's den. On this way, Daniel probably didn't even seem like he was afraid. He trusted in God to take care of him. And then these evil guys are sitting back here like, ha, ha, ha. Now Daniel's taken care of. This plan is working perfectly. Ha, ha, ha. A few minutes later, Daniel is praying to God and he is thrown in with the lions. King Darius even says, seal the den with a stone so that everyone will know I'm enforcing the law. And he's thinking, oh, my own pride and this stupid law have costed me my only trusted friend. So as the rock is closing over this dark pit filled with lions and with Daniel, the king looks down and he says, I hope that your God will save you. That night, the king could not eat or sleep because he was so worried about Daniel. He's up all night, he's worrying, he's praying, he's thinking. And as daybreak, when the sun starts coming up, the king rushes to the lion's den. And he says, roll the stone away, get it back, check on Daniel. And he calls down into the tomb and he says, Daniel, did God protect you? And Daniel says, so what do you know about Daniel? He's alive. Daniel says, oh, king, my God sent an angel. This really happened. An angel closed the mouths of the lions and saved me. And he said, God found me faithful, just like I've always been faithful to you. So I want you to look at this really awesome picture of the lions. Do you see what they look like? He's petting them. He's sitting next to them. The lions are not hurting Daniel one bit, right? And it says, the king is overjoyed and he ordered that a rope be thrown down for Daniel, and they pulled Daniel out and Daniel was safe. And then he sent for those evil guys, the evil guys. And he said, get them. They plotted Daniel's death, put them in the lion's den. He said, you sent Daniel to the lion's den, and now we're going to have you thrown into the den. I want you to look at this picture. They are thrown in. And before they can even hit the bottom of the pit, they're gobbled up. So was it that those lions weren't hungry, or they didn't want to eat humans? Or, I don't know. Do you think that's what it was? Because I'm looking here like they were hungry seconds later and they didn't eat Daniel all night. So God definitely had a hand in that, right? And so after this, King Darius made a decree. He said, I, Darius, command all the people in this kingdom to honor the God that Daniel worships and serves. And for the rest of his life, Daniel helps the Persians rule Babylon. The country he entered as a captive, remember they were taken captive they were God's people, against all odds, he stands up for God and God rewards him. So Daniel stood up for God and did the right thing, even though he could have lost his life. So sometimes we have to be bold and brave for God and do hard things, and God takes care of us. All right, let's come up with 2 questions. Are you ready? What are 2 questions we can come up with for this week's test? All right, how many times a day did God's people pray to him? How many times a day did God's people pray to him? That's question number 1. Question number 2. What did God send into the pit with Daniel to keep the lions from eating him? What did God send into the pit with Daniel to keep the lions from eating him? Those are your 2 questions. Have your parents send me your answers. Somebody's gonna go get ice cream this week. Bye, guys. Have a great week.